as we bring in the popular analyst from the mothership, Dan Orlovsky. 2-hour NFL Live on ESPN. That starts at 3 Eastern today from Cleveland. Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Laura Rutledge, and more. ESPN ABC's draft coverage continues tonight at 7 Eastern, then all day Saturday beginning at noon Eastern. I like the all green yesterday, Dan. Bold statement there. Who helped you pick out your suit there?
Yeah, I appreciate that. But that was my wife. She picks out usually my on television clothes. It was a money day.
Okay.
It was a money making day for these guys. So I went with the green.
What do you have today? What's in store for today?
Yeah, a blue traditional, maybe not a traditional blue, but a little bit of a steel blue with a cream and blue colored tie, some sweet shoes. So to end the week, a little bit more traditional than Wednesday and Thursday when I went kind of maroon and then green.
Okay, but Herb Street has it in his contract that he gets to wear blue before anybody else does. So I would check just with management with that, Dan. Okay.
Make sure I don't disrespect somebody above me. I'll do that.
Yes. All right. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers here. I'm trying to figure out what was he hoping to accomplish yesterday.
Well, I don't know if that was Aaron leaking it or not or whatnot. I mean, if you listen to people like Schefter talk, this has been something that's going on for a while now. And it just so happened that it came out yesterday. Again, maybe it was leaked by Aaron. Aaron doesn't I don't take Aaron as that kind of guy that tries to hijack the draft, so to speak. I think at the end of the day, this has been something that started with X, Dan. Like, hey, Aaron Rodgers is unhappy, okay? And then he plays the season. He has the season that he has, and then he starts to get more unhappy because I'm playing so well, but we're still like a piece away from actually winning the Super Bowl, so to speak. And so that festers a little bit. And the Packers are like, we need to address this. So then over the last month, it sounds like maybe 6 weeks or so, they've gone out to him and said, how can we fix this? How can we fix this? How can we fix this? And maybe Aaron gave them their chance to try to rectify it or repair that relationship. And it just so happened that that relationship has been deemed unrepairable, at least in this moment, up until yesterday.
Yeah, but I don't understand. It's one thing to kind of grab the franchise's attention. I think Russell Wilson aimed to do that. I don't think Russ wanted to be traded. I think he just wanted to say, hey, can I at least have a conversation? Can I be involved in this? Can I help in any way? This feels different, Dan, with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, because I think this is way bigger than football, Dan. I think this is about there is a respect aspect. Listen, every great quarterback's got an ego. We know that, right? And so his ego feels a little bit disrespected. I sent out this tweet last night. In their last 10 first-round picks, 9 guys have been defense, and 1 has been the quarterback selected. And I get it. Like, everyone's like, well, have you seen our defense in Green Bay? Yeah, guys, I was in the division for 7 years. But I do think that there comes a point where, last year they chose the future in the draft, the Packers. They did so with Jordan Love and A.J. Dillon, okay? And all Aaron's doing right now is expediting that process. He's bringing the future to the present. And it is because he was the MVP of the league last year. If he threw for 26 touchdowns or 28 touchdowns, this isn't a conversation. But when you go and do on the field what he did, now he's regained the power, so to speak. And so I think there is a little bit of a relationship and ego disrespect.
Well, if the Niners are offering you the number 3 pick overall, and they're offering you a couple other picks, or maybe, I don't know, Fred Warner. I'm like, I don't know, but let me just put it out there. If I'm Green Bay, man, I listen to that. Like, if I think we're moving on, then I go, okay. Like, we're going to take a hit. People are going to go, hey, how can you let him go? Well, we let Favre go. We let Aaron go. Everybody gets, goes to another team. Like, I would do that if I'm Green Bay. What about you?
Dan, you dead on. And I've said that since last night. Like, because Brian Gutekunst, their general manager, goes, we're not trading Aaron Rodgers. And respectfully, guys, you started thinking about this last year. Yeah. So you should not be surprised. You can't. That's where it's a very different situation than Seattle, because the whole question was, if it's true or not, Russell wanted out, was who was going to be the replacement for Russell. But Green Bay already started this process in their minds and planning for the future and planning for Jordan Love to take over. And so they can't sit there and go, well, we're not trading Aaron Rodgers. You guys were already planning for life post Aaron Rodgers and you're justified. Like, you can do whatever you want. You're a general manager, but you can't sit there and go, we're not going to trade him when you already set this in motion. So, yeah, I mean, it was interesting last night because I started to think, well, if you're San Francisco and you don't have any more assets first round pick wise, because you use those to get up, like, do you take Kyle Pitts at 3 and then give him Bosa, Kyle Pitts, and, next year's one, I don't know, or the first round pick. So, but I don't think that Green Bay should sit back and go, nope, we're not trading them, because you've already started this thought process.
We're talking to Dan Orlovsky of the Mothership. How does this work for the 49ers with Trey Lance?
I think I'd say this, Dan, I think it's the greatest flyer at quarterback in the history of the first round when they selected Trey Lance. Super talented, super bright, check all that box talk, right? Quarterback is a repetition position. The only way you get better and to really know is repetitions. He's got 118 pass attempts in college. It's the lowest that a first-round quarterback has had in 40 years. Okay, it's one guy in the first round in the last 15 years has had under 400. That's Mark Sanchez, 480 or 500, 487. So I think the challenge for San Francisco is this. I think Trey Lance needs to get on the field and play because of what I just mentioned. He needs reps, okay? And that's the only way to really develop is get those reps. Now, the challenge is San Francisco also has to win football games. They've got a losing record 3 out of the 4 seasons, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, who I love. But that's it. That is what they are. And so they need to win. They've got a roster to win. Now, the challenge is developing a quarterback, but also winning football games is very hard to do. Okay. And a lot of times young quarterbacks fail because of that burden, because when it gets to win at all costs, you revert back to old habits, and that stunts your development. And Kyle needs to go from great offensive mind to really good quarterback developer.
I liken the first round to playing blackjack. Like, you have certain numbers that you hit on, or in certain numbers where you go, I'm going to stay. Like the Raiders always feel like, it's 16 and they want to hit. Like they risk a little bit more. Whereas some of these other teams like the Patriots didn't go up. Everybody said, oh, they're going to go up. And I said, no, I'm told they're not going up. They just sat there. They got the guy that they wanted. If Detroit, they were patient with who they wanted, the Chargers with who they wanted. It just felt like the Raiders, were a little itchy on the trigger finger. I don't know if there was anybody. I don't know if you agree with me. I was told by a scout last night that's the worst first-round pick, with Alex Leatherwood. Because you could get him in the second. It's not him, the player. It's you drafted him where you drafted him. Anybody else stand out that way?
Well, I mean, touching on the Raiders, 2 things. One, they had one of the top 8 offensive lines in football last year, and then they dismantled it this offseason. And then also, like, your greatest issue off a football team-wise is your defense. So it's like they really created a mess and then tried to Band-Aid the mess, but left the biggest gash open still. I did not like the Travis Etienne pick to Jacksonville. I think he's a nice player. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think you take a first-round tailback as an organization unless you're like a tailback away from a championship, right? Like a championship contender. That's obviously not Jacksonville. Second of all, they've got way bigger holes. I mean, they actually have in James Robinson what every organization wants.
Yeah.
An undrafted, really good tailback. So it's like, what are we doing? And then they signed Carlos Hyde. And then for Urban Meyer to come out this morning and say, well, our 1-2 punch is going to be James Robinson and Carlos Hyde, and Travis Etienne is our 3rd round back. My mind goes, what? Because 3rd round tailbacks in the NFL nowadays
a third down
are pass blockers.
Yeah.
They're protection guys. Old school 3rd round running backs or 3rd down running backs. Think of like a Kevin Falk, those pass catchers. They're used on 1st down nowadays. And I just don't understand the thought process of taking that pick for Jacksonville at that moment.
What did the Bears get?
Oh, gosh. Again, I think one of the best picks in the draft. The Bears got hope. The Bears got a prayer, so to speak. I think Justin Fields' talent is very spectacular. I think the thing that I sit here and say this morning is it's on you now, Matt Nagy, to do for Justin Fields what you didn't, couldn't, and wouldn't for Mitchell Trubisky. And I had said that for years, is one of the things that Mitchell Trubisky did have was athleticism. He did have, and listen, Justin's way more talented than Mitchell, but they never allowed Mitchell to be an athlete. They never saw, okay, that's a strength. We got to do a lot of that stuff. And the reality is that is a strength for Justin Fields, is his athleticism. So you better find ways to utilize it. And then they never addressed his flaws or his weaknesses, because his flaws and weaknesses were mechanics. That's the same for Justin. And you better attack that, because then the talent never shines if you don't. And they better not. I think they asked Mitchell Trubisky to be a player that he's not. Pocket passer, statue guy. Don't do that for Justin Fields. Don't do that with him. Yeah. And I think that's, if Matt Nagy can sit there and look at himself in the mirror and go, I learned from that, then we're talking about something in Chicago. But it's all on Matt Nagy.
Mac Jones to the Patriots. They didn't have to go up. They got him.
Which blows my mind. How do they not know? Or how did they know? Like, how did they know that someone wasn't going to jump them? Pittsburgh, Washington, the Raiders, somebody wasn't going to jump them. Because I do think that they like Mac Jones, and I do think that he can be a really good player. So how did Bill have like such incredible discipline to just sit there and know no one's going to go get him? Blows my mind. I think he's got a chance to be a really good player there.
The Eagles had the 10th pick, and I was wondering if they were going to take Justin Fields. Now, I know you have Jalen Hurts, but yeah. I thought Washington football team might go up and try to get Justin Fields. Like there were teams that and I mentioned the Bears yesterday that I thought that they could go up. I thought Pittsburgh may be interested in Justin Fields. So, like, it's one of those where we can talk, we can have mocks, we can have conversations in the war room, but when you're on the clock and when you got to make a move there, like, I can't imagine what that pressure must be like for some of these teams where they're going, we got to wait and wait. But Belichick and his dog, maybe they were just chilling. And it's like, all right, let me know when we're on the clock.
Yeah, and it's just like to have the ability to know that's the player you want and not get, I guess, trigger happy is the phrase, or not get in panic mode. And even if it's like, hey, we got to go from 15 to 12, or we got to go 15 to 13 because we're worried someone is going to jump us. That is what, and I guess that's what happens when you've been in the NFL forever and you've probably got so many connections that he knew, because there's no way that he doesn't know and just sits there, in my opinion. And that's what having information is such a powerful thing.
You were drafted in the 5th round. What kind of draft party did you have when you were selected?
Dan, I had a depressing one, dude. Like, first of all, my draft was old school. So it was 2 days, rounds 1 through 3 Friday, and then rounds 4 through 7 on Saturday, Sunday, excuse me. I thought I was going to get drafted on like the 3rd round. The last pick of the 3rd round, I didn't, obviously. The last pick of the 3rd round was Maurice Clarett, who was coming off of a year of not playing and had some off the field stuff. And I got furious. I was like, how's this guy drafted? And I wasn't. So I hung on the next day, shattered my phone like a child, and was angry, and then finally got the call.
Wait, you broke your phone?
Shattered my phone when that pick was made, shattered it against the ground, which is stupid.
Hard to get a hold of you the next day.
So I have to go to the Verizon store the next morning super early. I'm waiting there for the worker to come to open up the store, get a new phone. My agent's trying to call me, and he's like, hey, you'll go off the board soon here. That doesn't happen, obviously, because I went in the 5th round. So I'm angry, I'm bitter. And then finally the call comes. It was Coach Mariucci, who I actually got to see yesterday, Mooch. And it went from like anger to joy, which was awesome. Celebrated that night for sure with some friends, but it was a unique one.
Who told you they were going to draft you and they didn't?
Seattle.
Ooh.
Seattle in the 3rd round. Seattle in the 3rd round called me and told me, we're drafting you. I think it was the 82nd pick, if I'm correct, and said, we're going to take you. I'm sitting there watching the television, and they took David Green. Remember the lefty out of Georgia who was really good in college, David Green, the lefty quarterback out of Georgia?
I don't remember him.
Yeah, so not only did they tell me they were taking me at 82 and didn't, but they also took a quarterback.
Yeah, Paulie.
David Green never played a snap in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bittersweet. And then I was sitting there like, well, I got to go. So then New Orleans took like Adrian McPherson, and I was like, what the heck? And I think the Panthers took Stephon LaFours, and I'm like, what is it? So like 97 quarterbacks went ahead of me.
Kyle Orton went ahead of you.
KO, and Kyle Orton's the reason I didn't go to Purdue. So when Kyle Orton goes ahead of me, I'm like, wait, I didn't go to Purdue because of Orton. I got drafted later than Orton.
Yeah, but who are those guys? They're not on NFL Live.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because Orton made a lot more money than me. That's why.
Yeah. Hey, great to talk to you. Have fun today and enjoy the weekend. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, bud. Good to see you.
That's Dan Orlovsky, ESPN NFL analyst, 2-hour NFL Live with host Laura Rutledge, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Ryan Clark, and, of course, Dan Orlovsky. Live, 3 Eastern from Cleveland.